Good evening and welcome.
Welcome to PQP2. We'd like to take this moment to acknowledge that it is Treaty Recognition Week in the province of Ontario. And I'm not sure if it's happening across Canada or just here in Ontario, but either way, we would like also to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of Fort William First Nation and Waju, and they are signatory to the Treaty of Robinson's Pier of 1850 with the Crown, actually.
Oh.
So it's kind of a cool place. We had a chance to hear Chief Peter Collins speak this morning, and he talked quite in depth about the history of Fort William First Nation and how that treaty signing came to be. And, you know, the whole premise underlying why treaties were signed, and it was to share together. So
I know we have many activities in my school this week. I'm pleased to see many of my teachers leading things and some collaborating, and we are going to be gifted and on Friday afternoon with an elder who's coming to do some work with our children and share some knowledge. So that's really exciting and our time for us. So
that's great. So we talked about creating a vision. I had this really interesting post that one of the students wrote, and she really created, it sounded like utopia to me. As I was reading, I'm thinking, wow, this sounds great. And then, you know, it was screeching halt. Okay, but this is where we are. And this is what I think we need to do to get forward from there. And I thought that was a great a way of conveying that vision, was really painting a picture of what you dream can be. And I think, you know, for great leaders, you have a dream. I have a dream, as we hear Martin Luther King talk about. But certainly that was, you know, enjoyable to read through that particular module for me, because so many people had so many great ideas and things they either had done or they were planning on doing within their school.
Yeah, in my own school, there's the formal vision setting in a staff meeting, say your first time you're there, and that kind of thing, and revisiting it. But I find that I revisit it often in examples and stories throughout the day. So as I'm milling through the staff room, or I'm at breakfast club with my staff, or I'm visiting a classroom, things I see happening, I relate back to the grand sort of vision for my school. And I acknowledged often that sometimes I call myself a Pollyanna because I just think the greatest thing about education is hope. And so I tend to, you know, there's those silly posters people have up all the time about aim for the stars, or aim for the moon and you'll land in the stars, those kinds of things.
Which doesn't actually make sense, but
no, it doesn't. But
it means a whole lot closer.
I think we need to maintain that, particularly as we go forth in difficult times. I think this is interesting times to be an educator, not just in Ontario but across the world. And I think that those vision pieces are really important. But one of the things I really like to do is I relate our everyday activities and things I see happening in the school back to that vision. And I say, this is a great way in which, you know, I see this coming together, and that people really can then see it manifest. So it's not so, sort of takes the large pie in the sky and relates it back to the day to day. So
so that was probably my favorite. I love reading that one. So establishing a culture of inquiry, we have put some ministry documents together, and, you know, talked a little bit about collaborative inquiry with some of the groups, and how you build, how you build that learning environment. And I had a chance to read just a practicum from our previous course this weekend, and in it, the author talked about what she learned, which was, most people write that, but she wrote just as much about what she learned from what didn't work well.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the key things that she talked about was how she held the keys to the kingdom. And because she was the expert in that particular area and did a great job of implementing it while she was there. But she said, I'm likely leaving the school, and she, in fact, did leave the school to be a vice principal in another school. And her reflection back was, oh geez, I took everything with me because I was the holder of the keys to that particular integration piece of technology. And, you know, that's a big learning. And it was great that she had an opportunity to have that learning during her practicum and actually noted that. So her next round, she said she would really make sure that she has that collaborative inquiry culture happening, so that the ownership lies within the staff, and she's the support person taking barriers out of the way and bringing in knowledge as needed, but really building capacity amongst staff. So I think that's a lesson we've all probably learned at some point as a new leader, And some of you may be right in that spot right now as you're working on your practicum. So look forward to hearing how that's working for you.
So the assessment and metrics of success, this is something, so we asked you to take a look at a large-scale assessment. You could choose many, and folks that are international certainly had the opportunity to choose probably some unique international assessments, so we always learn a little bit from that ourselves. But I can't say enough. So we use, of course, EQAO here in the province of Ontario as a trailing indicator. It's a snapshot in time. But it's also, it is a report card of sorts for our school systems. And it has,
and this is how I used to feel that way.
It has, though, some amazing data, and learning to use it in an effective way so that it's not either a browbeating or only a celebration of successes is really critical. And for instance, our school this year, one of the things you can do, and lots of people know with EQO, is you can take, you can delve right into every question that your school took. You could see how they did. In relation to the question, first of all, so that's level 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 4. You can see how they did next to board and the province, and then you can take that question apart. So this year we were it was really instrumental for us to take apart our math scores, and particularly in grade 6, and look at the questions we did poorly on, and we struggled with, and to take a look at what those kinds of questions were. And EQA will actually tell you that it's the curricular expectation that it's asking for. It'll also tell you whether it is addressing the communication, the knowledge and understanding, the application, or the thinking skill piece of the curriculum. And interesting enough, we discovered that the almost unanimously the questions that we did not well on or we struggled with were thinking questions. All different kinds of curricular expectations. So then we had to really take apart thinking and the curriculum. And that gave us a very, very specific goal to work on in terms of school improvement. And so those large-scale assessments, they have their uses. They're not the end-all and be-all.
Yeah, and then how do they connect to the actual day-to-day data? Because, of course, they don't give you the answers to every single question. They give you selected pieces, so it's a bit like a patchwork quilt. And it gives you some big squares, and then you have to fill in the rest of the squares with the data that you have day-to-day that you're collecting. The practicums have been quite interesting that they've been coming along. It's been really nice to see people putting together either PowerPoint presentations with a lot of their information, some of their challenges, roadblocks, what they've done. For those people, and for those people who are still in it, a lot of people are putting next steps. This is what I'm planning on doing next. The more you put down, the better that myself and your peers can give you feedback on where you need to go moving ahead. So thanks for taking the time to really make a fulsome delivery of your practicum and your thinking during that time.
And it really adds to the learning of everybody in the course. I mean, we all get an opportunity to see different initiatives, how they're implemented, the challenges from implementation, those successes, and those are all learning points that we can't recreate in our schools necessarily.
No, and I had an example where someone was doing something in strengths and someone else was saying, oh, I really wanted to do some work with student ambassadors, and so there was a nice little exchange, and I think they probably connected outside the course, but that really, I'm learning from each other and with each other, and like anywhere, there's experts in the room on a variety of different fields. And so, like in your school, find out who those experts are and then go engage in conversations with them in those learning conversations. And that's a really nice way to utilize people's strengths and have them contribute in a authentic manner to the learning of your whole school environment. So. Yeah, so anyway, happy Monday. It snowed last night and then rained all day. I heard a poor student at the law school tonight saying, oh God, I just moved here and all it's done is rain. Every day I wake up and it's raining, I go to bed and it's raining. We actually, in this region, Lake Superior has actually gone up. It's rained so much. So there's a good math question. If Lake Superior goes up for 1 inch, how many, cubic whatevers?
Of water
set to fall. Quite a lot.
Liters is that? It would be quite a bit.
But anyway, that would be like the jelly bean in the jar question. So, anyway, so you have a great week, and
moving
we'll
into
be in
module
touch.
4. We look forward to continuing to read your work.
Okay, good night.
Thank you. Good night.